Hi, this is your host Swapnil Bhartiya, and welcome to another episode of TFiR Let's Talk here at KubeCon in Detroit. And once again, we have with us Itiel Shwartz, CTO and co-founder of Komodor. Itiel, it's great to have you back on the show, but in person.
Yeah, first time. Super excited. We always meet over Zoom, so happy to meet.
Yeah, we have done so many discussions virtually. So when we met in person, so it didn't feel like this is the first time we were meeting, right? Because we have been talking, and which is also kind of experience we see here at KubeCon, right? You meet a lot of colleagues, you meet a lot of partners, customers, and ecosystem players. So talk a bit about what was your experience here at KubeCon in person.
Our company, like Komodor, is a Kubernetes only company. That's the only thing we do. We are a Kubernetes troubleshooting platform. And because of that, I know a large part of the ecosystem, but seeing everyone live, talking with everyone, seeing the demo, talking with the product of like other vendors, it is super fun. Like everyone here are obsessed around Kubernetes, and there is something in a physical event that virtual events just can't, compare with. So overall, like we're super happy to be here and mingle a bit. So nice.
So we are here, and you have a strong presence here at the event. Talk a bit about what you are showing here, any announcement that you folks made here.
Yeah, so I will say there are two main things that Komodor are like doing in this event compared to prior. First of all, we had a very big announcement 3 days ago around the new open source named Helm dashboard. It is basically a dashboard around Helm. Helm is the most popular way of deploying application to Kubernetes. Its CLI is lacking, I would say. And what we add is like a Helm plugin that allow you to install and to view all of your application across all of your cluster in a very easy manner. And everything is running locally. It is very fast. And like the project is live only for, like I said, 3 days, I think. Amazing response from the community, trending over GitHub, one of the most popular projects. And we really see that we nailed it with, a problem that has a real need. So like that's a very big announcement that we just did. I will say also that in this conference, unlike other conferences, like platform engineering is becoming like the new buzzword around the street. I'm not sure around the title itself, but we see more and more people coming to the Komodor booth in order to help their developer to be more self-sufficient, to be more empowered, like they want Komodor to help them. It is like a big difference than the conversation that we had 2 years ago when most people who worked over Kubernetes were SRE and experts, and now the developers and like non-experts are also working quite a lot with Kubernetes. So we see how, because Kubernetes is like de facto the main standard today, it is changing the people who are using it to like a very big variety of people.
Talk a bit about what was the point when you realized, hey, this is the pain point for deployment of Helm charts, and we should do that.
Yeah, I'm a very long Helm user ever since like Helm 1 beta, I think, something like that. So I worked personally a lot with Helm, and even I really love Helm. It has some shitty parts. That's the truth, and it is very, very obvious when you have a problem with Helm, like your deploy just failed and you don't understand why didn't it was successful, or if you want to roll back to a previous version and you want to understand what just changed, or you want to deploy to a new version of Helm, like a public Helm chart, and you want to understand what is going to change. For each one of those different scenarios, without using the tool, it is a matter of luck and a lot of hard work. So I knew it like from firsthand as a user. We have Andre, we just joined the company, Komodor, and he's like leading the open source effort, and he wrote the tool basically. I just gave him like some pointers, and he also came like with the same experience. And a lot of our users are using Helm. So we hear all of the time, can you help us like manage Helm a bit better? It is hard, it is not fun. So I think like that's what we're seeing, like both firsthand and all of our customer. Helm is super popular. It's by far, I think, the most popular like CNCF other than Kubernetes, right? And the CLI is not that fun. Unlike, I will say, kubectl, some people like me, I really like kubectl. Like I like Komodor, I use Komodor all the time. But kubectl is nice, like it's fun working with him. It's not fun working with the Helm CLI. So that was like the main incentive also. Like we know for a fact that everyone is not enjoying that.
And you talked about that, it's just 3 days and the interest is great. Of course, you have a booth presence here, so a lot of folks do walk to you. So what kind of, either feedback or, reaction you're getting from the community in terms of solving that problem?
The main thing that we are getting is Kubernetes is complex. And it's different. Again, I think that we are seeing, both because Komodor as a company have grown and our brand and so on, but more and more people are starting Kubernetes every day. Like more companies just finished their migration, and Kubernetes is becoming more and more complex. Like there are more things, there are the RBAC, there are security things, there are more ingresses. Kubernetes used to be like a bit more simple, I think, because the ecosystem was smaller and the project was smaller. And like complexity is the main word that we are hearing when people come to our booth. It is so complex, it is so hard. Can you somehow relieve me or make it a bit less complex? And I see it across the board.
When you talk about Kubernetes complexity, and earlier you also talked about, the users of Kubernetes, they're also, tech-savvy companies who are tech-heavy, like Google, where the Kubernetes came from, and there are a lot of new companies. In today's world, every company is supposed to be a tech or software company, right? It doesn't matter what you do. Even Home Depot, right? They are a big tech company. They have, a massive presence there. So talk a bit about when we look at complexity of Kubernetes, and then you also see the adoption even by the folks who it's not just that not all companies are tech companies. There is already a gap in supply and demand of tech people. So even if they want to hire, they will not find people. So you have to make things simpler. You have to lower. So talk a bit about, it could be either from the perspective of the contribution that Komodor is making through things like, Helm dashboard, but to lower the barrier of entry.
I think that it's like there are a lot of tools that are trying to take Kubernetes and to minimize it a bit, removing all of the very hard things and to make life easier. If it's Argo in how to deploy to Kubernetes, Helm also simplifies some parts of it. I think that APM solutions like Datadog, New Relic, all of them understand that Kubernetes is the king, right? And they're trying to adapt themselves to be also Kubernetes native. I think everyone understands that Kubernetes is complex. I think what most people don't really understand is how hard it is to simplify it. We see it from our users and the ecosystem. Taking Kubernetes and showing the non-experienced users only the things they need to know and need to see is a very hard thing to do, because you don't want to give them too much data, too much context, and you don't want to give them too less context. So finding for every tool, trying to find that balance between contexts is super hard, but like I said, I think every day is a good day for Komodor, I will say, because as more and more vendors are adding more and more things on top of Kubernetes, it's not becoming to be honest, it's not becoming simpler. I don't see it, at least for the near future, becoming. And maybe someday there will be an easier Kubernetes, right? Maybe a bit like Heroku versus AWS maybe, but I didn't saw any project that really helped simplify Kubernetes altogether. Komodor is doing an amazing job, I think, in terms of troubleshooting and owning Kubernetes. But I think that Kubernetes is it's a big thing, right? It's the new cloud, basically. This is how I see it.
You also talked about the evolution of developer DevOps, and then we talk about platform engineering. Our industry, we love to throw out new jargons every now and then, and a lot of our friends and analysts, super cloud, hyper cloud, mega cloud, I don't know, galactic cloud. It's nice to create new shiny object, but I am more focused on, hey, what is the core, what is the problem we are looking at? I think the problem is, when you look at the platform engineering, is that the ownership.
Yeah.
From when you write the code all the way, it could be also seen, hey, you're putting a lot of things in developers' pipeline, but you're also empowering developers, to control the whole life cycle, So talk a bit about when you look at these terms, how do you look at it? Once again, to make things simpler, easier, giving more ownership?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that what we are seeing, at least from my perspective, is that there was a lot of job in the industry to make it much easier to deploy application. It is like 5 years ago, before Docker and like containers, you need to run your EC2 machine and have like a setup script and like bash and so on. So it was super complex. I think there was a lot of focus across the industry about deploying application faster, which is great. It works. It's very easy. Like you can give someone who is really non-technical a very simple pipeline, and his application is going to be on the cloud. And that is because I think really dozens of different companies did a really good job in creating those pipelines. If it's Circle CI, GitHub Actions, a bit of like Argo as well. So I feel this problem is now solved. What we see is now we're a bit more around like the day two operation. Okay, I have my application on the cloud, but now what? Who is going to manage it? Who is going to own it? And I feel that there is like a very big gap in that area. So, at the beginning, only the DevOps IT, I don't know how you call it, were responsible for deploying and managing and troubleshooting. The deploy part is now really in the hands of the developer in a lot of the companies. But once the code is in production, I can share with you the talks that I'm doing with like customers. They are bombarded with questions and tickets and like Jira, can you help me solve this? Can you help me solve that? And I think the industry, it's like not only Komodor, I think all of the industry are going to try and give more tools to the developers, not around the deployment, because I really feel that it works, but more around what happens after you deploy. And I see it across both APM solutions, Komodor and like other vendors trying to simplify it.
Itiel, thank you so much for taking time out today. And it's, as we discussed earlier, it's really great to see you in person. Which also means next time when we have discussion, we'll have a chemistry there. So thanks for all those insights. And as usual, I look forward to our next discussion.
KubeCon Amsterdam.